Ole Miss will handle Kentucky on Saturday. We have Saturday's answer key before the test.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. On today's show, we're diving into Saturday's matchup between the Ole Miss Rebels and the Kentucky Wildcats in Lexington, live on ABC at 3:30 Eastern Time. We will give you our predictions, plus the Locked On Ole Miss prop predictions for this game. The big question, though, how does Lane Kiffin avoid the Mark Stoops rock fight? Stoops wants to grind it out, slow the tempo, and turn this into the antithesis of everything Ole Miss football is built on. But before we get into that, we have to talk about Austin Simmons. This young quarterback already looks the part of being an elite SEC quarterback, and this will be his very first road start. How Kiffin manages Simmons in this environment could mean everything for the Rebels in this game. We're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you so much for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. And a big shout out to all the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is. Don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Chris Gordy at Locked On SEC and Corey Burton at Locked On Vandy. They always bring fresh insight from across the conference. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is right around the corner. It's technically already started. Visit the FanDuel app today to start planning your future bets now. So this is an interesting game because I spoke with Lance Dahl yesterday. You probably saw that on the channel. We also spoke with Benny Hardy yesterday. You had that on the channel. Ole Miss has won 3 out of 4 against Kentucky, but they've all been insanely close. There was a game like in 2017 that DK Metcalf had to make a great catch to win. In 2020, the Matt Corral game, it was an offensive slugfest. It was 42-41, and Ole Miss won the game on a missed extra point. Matt Corral in that game, by the way, was 24-29, 320 yards and 4 touchdowns. That will be relevant a little bit later. Then there was the game with the weird illegal procedure that cost Kentucky and Oxford. Ole Miss won that game by 3. Then in last year's game, Kentucky won the game by 3, but it took a miracle pass and a fumble into the end zone, essentially, for Kentucky to get that win. There's just been some weird stuff happen in this ball game. And a lot of that has to do with the talent level of Ole Miss in 2017 and 2020. Wasn't quite where it needed to be. 2022, you had Will Levis and some good players on that roster, Berrien Brown, Dane Key. There was a different Kentucky team than even 2024. And I think this year it's going to take even a further step backwards offensively. Now, there's some good players. Dante Dowdle went from Picayune High School to Oregon to Nebraska and to Kentucky. He's on the Ryan Fitzpatrick tour as we stand right now. But Ole Miss doing all of that with a quarterback that everybody assumes has the ability to be the best quarterback to potentially come through Oxford since Eli Manning, as far as pro ready. I understand Jackson Dart has all the records. I understand that Matt Corral has all the fanboys, but Austin Simmons has all the tools to completely destroy the combine. That is what we're looking at. And against Georgia State, he showed out. He did what he was supposed to do. After a shaky start where he threw an interception that was on him and one that really wasn't, he ended up with the second highest passing yardage of the week in the entire Southeastern Conference. And that needs to be remembered. But how do you handle a quarterback into a road situation? I think this is a major question for Lane Kiffin this weekend. How do you handle somebody who has had struggle moments at the beginning of scrimmages, at the beginnings of home openers? You can automatically assume that this is going to happen. And Mark Stoops is known for putting young quarterbacks on skates. If you look at what he's done to Georgia over the years, it's ridiculous. Before Kentucky beat Ole Miss and Oxford, they lost to Georgia 13-12 in Lexington. It's weird, Mark Stoops' ability to turn the game into a defensive rock fight. I guess that's the Iowa nature in his coaching style. But how does Lane Kiffin get Austin Simmons going, get him into rhythm early? Because that's still important, because there's going to be defenses, there's going to be stuff that he has never seen before, that he is seeing for the first time. So you have to overcome that. And it's going to be Mark Stoops' job to make the defense look one way and be another, to make him see things that he's never seen before. It is going to be imperative on Lane Kiffin in this game to kind of start things nice and easy. Maybe a screen pass, maybe an arrow, maybe a quick slant, something short. Hit the tight end and get them going. Move the sticks to where he can just excel a little bit. He can go, okay, we are going to be absolutely fine. We just have to make it through this first drive and what's going on. You don't want a repeat of the second half of the first quarter against Georgia State. Now, the first drive was a 3-play touchdown drive that took about 40 seconds, but you don't want the drive 2 and drive 3 moments where it's like, hey, take care of the football or they're going to get a little bit of a bump. You don't want to put him in bad positions. You don't want to put him to where he is going for it on fourth down in his own territory on the road in his first start. If you can help it, you don't want to put him in the situation to where he has to throw the ball downfield, playing into Mark Stoops and Kentucky's hands. He's an elite quarterback, and I don't think any of this will end up happening, but you don't want to put him in that position if you can help it. It is Lane Kiffin's job in this game to help Austin Simmons out. Everything and everyone in that stadium, other than the people wearing white, are going to be against Austin. So it's going to be imperative that the accuracy is there, that passing calls are very conservative, at least at the start while they get going. If you can get a two-score game in this game, you are going to win it going away. If it's one score, Kentucky can score one score. We saw that a year ago. Kentucky can get one score. But if you get up 2 scores, it can become 4 scores pretty quick. Look at South Carolina a year ago. So I am interested to see how Lane Kiffin handles Austin Simmons in this game. Austin Simmons is going to be great, and he is already one of the better quarterbacks in the Southeastern Conference if you just go by the look test. Whenever you look at the other quarterbacks in the SEC right now, John Mateer looks really good. Okay, he looks really good. Now, they played an FCS opponent and only scored 35 points, but he looked good. Garrett Nussmeier, okay, maybe on the road at Clemson in a hostile environment, 230 yards, he is going to be fine. He threw for 4,000 yards a year ago. He is going to be fine. But after that, Lenore Sellers kind of looked like he did a year ago. They want Lenore Sellers to be good, but he's not really that good. Ty Simpson, Gunnar Stockton, who looked like an excellent runner, but he didn't look like the elite quarterback. Diego Pavia is Diego Pavia. He's going to be fine. Taylor Green looked good. Marcel Reed looked good. But I wouldn't take any of those quarterbacks over Austin Simmons right now and what he can do. And it's going to be on Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. to keep this young man settled down and getting a win on the road at Kentucky. This is a big game for Ole Miss. Make no mistakes, because Ole Miss plays 5 out of their first 6 games at home. They need to win on the road at Kentucky. That's called margin for error whenever you look at that. They play the number 16 and the number 15 team in the entire SEC on the road. Win those games, whether by 1 point or 70 points. Win those games. If you can do that, you're going to be all right. And a lot of that has to do with Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss keeping Austin Simmons settled at the beginning, because you can't win the game in the first quarter against Kentucky, but you can absolutely lose it. If for some reason it comes down and you're down by 14 points in the first quarter because of interceptions, because of turnovers, because it's gotten a little shaky, their defense, that's going to play into their hands. That's when you're trying to start to score a 14-point touchdown. And you're playing into Mark Stoops' hands. So it's going to be imperative on Lane Kiffin to put Austin Simmons in the great position that we expect. And Kewan Lacy or Logan Diggs, the Rebel running game that had nearly 300 yards against Georgia State, we need to see it against an SEC team that's going to be pretty good, because last year Ole Miss could not run the ball against the Kentucky Wildcats. So we'll see exactly how that goes. Listen, we've been talking all week about avoiding the rock fight that Mark Stoops loves to drag you into. The solution is actually simpler than you think. Just play with tempo, take advantage of early downs, and cash in on red zone trips. Don't expect another 63-point outburst this week. We'll explain exactly how Ole Miss can sidestep Kentucky's style and control the game next. It's almost weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can every win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it all down. For Ole Miss, it's Austin Simmons. He delivered in a big way. His quick decision-making led to a touchdown by Daquan Wright early in the ball game. When the pressure was on, he came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you are a ball knower, you know that this was not a fluke. Austin Simmons is starting to look to start a streak. And just like Austin Simmons delivered for the Ole Miss Rebels, DoorDash delivers on Saturdays. With DoorDash streaks, you can save every Saturday you order, stack it all up over the course of the season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply, and the promo period is good through November 18th. Listen, Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do a little bit more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive, and that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that it feels alive in every single detail. As an athlete focuses on every detail, Mazda does the same, from metallic accents to hand-stitched Napa leather. You can feel it the moment you get behind the wheel, the smooth handling, intuitive controls, the standard all-wheel drive on every crossover SUV. Whether it's a quick drive to practice or a weekend road trip, Mazda makes even everyday drives feel special. It's the small details that makes the big plays. And just like there's more to every player, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcatcher you're listening to, and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but it helps keep all of this free. If you want a little bit more, join the Insiders program. The subtext link is down below. No trolls, a 14-day free trial, and the easiest way ever to cancel. So give that a try. During the game, we give our takes and our thoughts and all of that. The subtext is where we put all of that information. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, is ready for you. We talked all week about Ole Miss and their need to avoid a rock fight. And what we mean by that is the typical defensive struggle to where it turns into a defensive slugfest. And Mark Stoops is known for doing that. Like I said in the first segment, right before Ole Miss got beat by Kentucky last year, Kentucky won 13-12 over Georgia. They are really good at pulling teams into this and make it to where the opposing team, they have kind of a trip to the dentist in this football game. They're a hard team to play against because there's not a lot of points. They cut down on possessions. They play time of possession. It honestly is pretty close to 1990s football when you look at it. Honestly, probably 1980s football whenever Bo Jackson and Alabama and all them were having 6-3 games. So we'll see exactly what that looks for. But how do you avoid that? How do you keep from getting sucked in to a rock fight? And the answer to this is simple. What you don't want is to be super explosive. And what I mean by that is you don't want a touchdown drive that's 30 seconds. You don't want a possession that's 30 seconds to where you go 3 and out and have to punt. You want a situation to where you're able to keep the offense on the field a little bit. Make the defense for Kentucky work. Make them kind of get tied up in knots, because if they're having to work, that means they're not being as successful as they could be. Use the quick passing game. Hit the tight ends. Hit the running backs. Move the chains. If you get 4 first downs in the first drive, doesn't matter how quick, you're probably in a pretty good position. The most important thing, though, is no turnovers, period, whatsoever. None. You have to play a clean game against the Kentucky Wildcats. Don't get stupid procedural penalties on the offensive line. If you do that, it's advantage Kentucky. That's playing into their hands. Again, I talked about earlier in the week, Mark Stoops is a genius because his whole philosophy is college teams aren't good enough to drive the ball down the field without shooting themselves in the foot. And all he wants to do is just wait until you shoot yourself in the foot and then pounce on it. And hopefully it's a 1-score game in the fourth quarter and you make a play to win it. That is the whole Kentucky strategy as far as I can tell. This isn't the 2019 or 2019 season when they were winning 10 games. All of the things that got Mark Stoops, all of the accolades that he has. This is Iowa 2.0 football. They're going to play defense. They're going to kick the ball. They're going to punt the ball. They're not going to try long field goals. We talked with Vinny Hardy and Lance Daw yesterday. They're talking about the kicker can kick a 60-yard field goal. And I was like, well, why didn't you do that? And he said that would be stupid because if he misses it, you get the ball where the ball is kicked. And all of a sudden the other team has a short field. These two coaches are the antithesis of each other, from their views on analytics to what they do speed-wise on the field. They are going to try and take care of the game in their own way. Lane Kiffin needs to start slow to go fast. He needs to start short to go long. He needs to handle the phone booth game that this is inevitably going to be in the first quarter to get to the point where basketball on grass is happening. All of that is important for this game. That is how you prevent a rock fight. At the beginning, first quarter, I would take the under and whatever score they're predicting in the first quarter. It's going to look like a rock fight at first, but just like the Georgia State game, it goes 2 yards to 4 yards to 8 yards, and eventually you bust one. And if you avoid giving up explosive plays in the run game to Kentucky, I'm having trouble figuring out where they're going to move the ball. Zach Calzada threw for 60 yards against the Toledo Rockets. Now, Toledo is a fine program. They beat the heck out of Mississippi State just last year. But 60 yards in a home opener, that makes you wonder a little bit. Now, one player that is going to be super key in this game, and I am curious to see exactly what happened, is the running back Kewan Lacy. If I'm talking about short passes and moving the ball down the field and all of that stuff, that involves Kewan Lacy. He's a running back with track speed. He has elite contact balance. He is going to be able to make something out of nothing, which is important when going against this Kentucky team. Now, one thing that's kind of important for Austin Simmons in his first start, the secondary is the strength of this defense right now. They have good players along their front seven, but the secondary is the strength of this team. They want you to throw the ball downfield. They're going to sit and wait for it. Now, they do not have the 2 NFLers that they had a year ago against Ole Miss. And Ole Miss has a little bit better running game. Honestly, they have a little bit better offensive line. And we'll wait and see on the quarterback going against Kentucky, because I think this is a better matchup for Ole Miss than Jackson Dart against Mark Stoops. But when you look at all that, they have a chance to be pretty good. And the signs point, all the signs are pointing to Ole Miss winning this game going away. But it is okay to be nervous about this game after what happened a year ago. This game literally cost Ole Miss the playoffs. Ole Miss would have been playing in Ohio Stadium or somewhere in the playoffs if they would have beaten Kentucky last year. And this game could go one or two ways, honestly. Either Ole Miss is going to be completely locked in, which I think they are, completely locked in and just completely steamroll Kentucky, or the pressure is going to get to them. If the game is a one-score game in the second half, how mentally tough is this Ole Miss team? All of these things are going to get answered in this football game. Ole Miss has the better football team. If both teams play their best, Ole Miss is going to win this game going away. What Kentucky needs to do is to mess this up for you, for it not to look pretty, and bring you down to their level and beat you with experience. So we'll see exactly how that goes. Anyway, coming on our final segment, it's prediction time. I will pick how the Ole Miss Kentucky game plays out, plus give you a few prop bets in this game to keep an eye on over the weekend. All the predictions, all the angles coming up right after the break. Hey, Locked On Ole Miss fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo, football, to get extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 in a year just from buying gas that you already are buying. At first, I thought this was too good to be true, honestly, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime you want to your bank account or to PayPal, or maybe get an e-gift card to Amazon or other brands. So don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app today now using my limited time promo code football for a limited time 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's promo code football. Offers may vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. The NFL is almost here. It kind of is, honestly. And FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building the same game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. This game has a chance to be a pretty fun matchup, if we're going to be honest. If you talk to people all the time, they talk about styles, make fights. When they're talking about boxing, the two people that stylistically are different can be the best games from time to time. And as Vinny Hardy and Lance Dawes said yesterday on the thing, the team that usually wants to play it slow is usually going to get their way. And the number of possessions in a football game, I think it's 11 or 12 at a normal full speed, both teams going all out type deal. I think it's about 8 or 9 playing against the Kentucky Wildcats, and they want it to be about 7, if we're going to be honest. They're going to go slow. They're going to snap the ball with 1 or 2 seconds on the clock. It's going to be ridiculous. So it's going to be paramount for Ole Miss to get first downs. Avoid the rock fight. Move the clock. Go down and score a touchdown. If you get up by 2 scores, you can pretty easily get up by 4 scores at that point. If it stays between 1 score, you can give up a play and end up finding yourself losing the game. I mean, we've all seen how that plays out. So that is my 30,000-foot view of this game. Now, 3 players to watch in this game for Ole Miss. I think Austin Simmons in his first road SEC start against Mark Stoops. It's going to be imperative that Lane Kiffin kind of takes care of him, of what can go on. Number 2 is Kewan Lacy. There needs to be a run game for Ole Miss in this week. And if you can make that happen, it's going to make the chains move easier. It's not going to be so much of a rock fight. The more fluid it can get in the ball game, that is a win for Ole Miss, and you do that by running the ball. Remember, the front seven for Kentucky's defense is probably the weak point. So Kewan Lacy and Ole Miss's offensive line, this is a chance. I know that the narrative that was established around Ole Miss football is the offensive line really struggled against Georgia State. I don't think they did. But if you bully Kentucky a little bit and you win this game by 14 to 17 points going into the Arkansas game next week, I think you would feel pretty good moving forward, if we're going to be honest. But Kewan Lacy has a chance to be a stud in this game. And I think Logan Diggs has a role to play as well. Damian Taylor is good, but all three of the running backs played well. And that's something that didn't happen a year ago, honestly. And the other one is Suntarine Perkins, the do-everything player on defense for Ole Miss. He plays end. He plays a little bit of linebacker. They stand him up. They put him on the line of scrimmage, all of that stuff. They were pretty vanilla with him against the Georgia State Panthers. Pete Golding, I think, is going to open his defense a little bit, and you'll get to see Suntarine Perkins kind of be Suntarine Perkins for the first time. That should be interesting. Now, this game, I think it's going to be a little bit of a rock fight. I do. Mark Stoops is just too good at doing this for me to say, hey, it's going to be 51-3 or 63-7. It might actually happen. Ole Miss has the offense and the ability to do that, but I just can't see that. So when it comes to this prediction, I spend all week looking over where I'm going to go, talking to absolutely everybody, and kind of coming up with a prediction. And this is the one prediction on the site that I kind of want to be right. I want to be right near it. And you can see my numbers, it's pretty close one way or another, genuinely. In this game, I got Ole Miss winning 24-10 in Lexington. I think it is going to be a little bit of a rock fight. I think there's going to be a turnover that happens either through Kewan Lacy or Austin Simmons, or a turnover on downs, and a couple of possessions are going to get taken away from Ole Miss, and that's the difference from a 31-10 or a 38-10, something like that. I don't have a lot of faith in Kentucky's offense as well. So we'll see how it looks. Now, the prop bets in this game that you need to look at, I think Suntarine Perkins is going to have a sack in this game. I think Austin Simmons is going to have 300 yards and 3 touchdowns again. I think all of the touchdowns are going to be passing touchdowns, and at least one is going to be an explosive pass. I think that's absolutely going to happen. I think Kewan Lacy, again, is going to go over 100 yards, but they're going to bow up in the red zone, and somebody like Caleb Odom and Daquan Wright, they're going to be weapons like we all expect them to be in the red zone. And I think Xavier Harris is going to be a force in the middle of the field. And you saw against Georgia State, he's like, okay, let's move 2 over there. Okay, let's move 3 over there to try to get this guy blocked. The double team factor of the defensive line is something to watch for. Remember, in the 2024 Ole Miss Kentucky game, Ole Miss could not run the ball at all. They could only move the ball to Trey Harris, who had 11 catches for 174 yards out of 250 yards passing. Ole Miss finished with like 89 or 90 yards rushing in that game. So it was about 320 yards in totality. Ole Miss has to have a variable attack. You can't fall into the trap that Mark Stoops is setting out for you. If you avoid all of these things, you're going to win this game going away, because you have a better football team than the Kentucky Wildcats. So thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. Check us out on Google. Just Google Ole Miss podcast and see how many of us come up. We're about 80% of that page. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it is completely free. Your support means the world to us. In another big moment for Locked On college football fans, Locked On and Fire TV presents College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation, along 2-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football kickoff preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Hotty toddy, everybody. Remember, post game, we'll have that reaction and the reaction roundtable. The SEC wide reaction will be Sunday. That was a big hit last week. So we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.